Hi guys, in this video we're going to be looking at some paint from Colourforge.
Gruffy Crow.
Okay, so they have sent me this. With some information here, advertising their new range of products and supplies and stuff. It's very nice. And what we've got here is a set of sprays for doing zenithal highlights. So if you watch my channel at all, you'll know that I normally undercoat in just a flat grey. I used to undercoat everything in black, but I find white too bright. I find black can sometimes just muddy colours, and I find grey the best sort of midpoint to paint over. Works for me. But there's certain situations where I still will zenithal highlight or still even highlight in black. What I've never tried is highlighting in 3 stages, like undercoating, sorry. I should say undercoating in 3 stages. So this could be quite interesting. They also sent me some stickers, which I'll add to my wall of stickers. In order to test these, I've got some models here. We've got a Bagain from Warp Miniatures, which is a 3D print, because I want to see how this works on printer resin. I've got a little Toad from Oathsworn to test him on metal. I've also just dug out this North Star plastic pirate, just so I can test it on all the material types I'm likely to come across. It's also the Arcworld Weekender this weekend, so I've got some other Arcworld minis I'm going to want to look at this weekend. Okay, so first thoughts on just the black. It is very matte. I've had all the same problems I normally have covering metal, but I think that might be more my technique than the paint. But so far, very impressed. It's gone over the 3D printed model just fine as well. And what I will say is it's incredibly matte. Can't quite show you on camera, but it is quite matte. Realised I've missed some bits in his ear there as well. So with some of these bits, I'm going to try doing the full 3 layers. And with the next few bits, I'm also going to try just the grey. Okay, I tried the grey out. The first thing that I noticed is it a lot darker than the grey I usually work with. But it'll be interesting to try and just paint over just that. So we've got him. And then I have given these guys a dusting of the white as well for the full 3 gradient effect. So I'm going to go and paint these now and see what it's like to paint over. Okay, I've been using these paints for a couple of weeks now. And some of the models that I undercoated just for this video, I've got some paint on them as well. So yeah, the main thing I noticed is once I had these layers of paint on, there was really no discernible difference between painting between the plastic, metal, printer resin or cast resin. So that was quite good. I have used spray paint before that'll very much sort of take on some of the attributes of the whatever's below it, whereas as I found that actually this gives like quite a nice painting surface. It doesn't seem to matter what it's painted on. This is a guy that I got at the Arcworld Weekender that I mentioned earlier, and he is resin. He's a cast resin, so not printer resin. And I did the full 3 layers of colour on this guy, and he was a joy to paint. And I think the fact that there is that white on there really helped me to get some of the sharper highlights and colours on the hair. Like, it's a lighter way of painting than I'm necessarily used to. And the metal one as well, started painting him. Possibly not finished, didn't quite come out the way I wanted. But yeah, absolutely no problem with the undercoat at all. Still not painted the frog, but as I said, this is a lot darker than what I'd usually use, but I can't foresee any issues. I will say this isn't quite as matte. It could be the way I've sprayed it or something. Isn't quite as matte as the black. The black is almost too matte for some stuff. I'm actually going to have to go over that with paint like this, to how matte this spray is on the base here. These guys were just painted black. I had no problem painting over them with just the black either. So I can't foresee any issues with just the grey. I'll tell you what, let's do my sort of standard wear base, something like this. So we're going to go for a bit of green. No issues at all there. The paint's adhering just fine. And if I didn't want to do the multiple layers, I could quite easily see this being my new go-to colour to paint over, to be honest. When I started painting the Bagain, I did actually try something a little bit different, because I noticed that the way I normally paint things, I probably don't take too much advantage of the zenithal highlighting that I have been doing on these. So what I did is I painted this on water thin. So we've got a few colours here. We've got a green, we've got the Mornfang brown, the Ready brown, and then we've got XV88 brown. and sort of normal things I do. Oh, and even the white here, which is Celestia Grey, all of which have been layered on just super thin, and I'm been trying to like take advantage of that highlighting. And I think, can't quite see it on the camera, but the way the birds have come out, I don't know if it's super work, but I do feel like it is darker if I look at it that way than that way. But what I will say is, over the sort of white and the greys, this paint is, well, not only covered without any issue, but just went on absolutely beautifully. I said, you can still see this model still super matte, and just, it was actually like, it was a dream. Putting this XV88 on, I had it way thinner than I'd normally use, and it went over like an absolute dream. Obviously this model's not done yet, I'll still layer that up, but I think for the purpose of testing these sprays, they have passed with flying colours on this model. Going down that sort of Zenithal thing, I did have just a little, see what would happen if I just used some washes and contrast paints over the standard Zenithal that I did, and obviously it actually ended up pretty cool. This is Army Painter Blue Tone on the most part, with some flesh contrast on the face. The only problem there is I didn't catch that part of the face with the spray, so it makes it look a little bit more evil almost. We've got some Cygor Brown on the hair there, and once again I think the Zenithal highlight has definitely picked up there and worked that. And we've even got some snake bite around the belts and stuff. Now I think the angle of the spray and the sort of the where I sprayed could be improved upon for something like this. And I think I might do a whole video trying to do some version of slap chop starting with these sprays, but that's definitely not the worst thing ever, especially for just a couple of sort of minutes work with the washes and speed paints. I feel like you could quite quickly knock out some miniatures like this just using the sprays and then speed paints if you were a bit more practiced with where the spray was landing. You might notice this is the same sculpt that I tested some of the clear resin with in one of my previous videos. I'm really liking this mini, and at some point I'll get around to painting it sensibly and not with some gimmick. But the success with doing that has meant that the metal version that she was looking to replace, I've even painted almost too white, I think. But I'm going to try some of those techniques with it super white. So I'm still trying to work out exactly sort of how much white, how much grey that I want. I think this guy started off as grey and then just to the white, and he's going to have sort of a white Elvis suit on when he's done. So I'll have to see how that needs. But once again, just putting this flesh on over the white and the light grey. So I'm going to leave this video here. As you can see, the models on my desk at the moment are still Zenithal highlight. I'm still playing with these paints in different sort of amounts and sort of techniques, but I'm actually really enjoying them. They are my go-to paints at the moment, and I think next time I run out of Halford's Grey, which is this one, I'll probably stick with these guys. I also had a quick chat with them at Partisan the other week. So one of the things they're doing at the moment is that a lot of their sprays are colour matched to some Games Workshop base colours, including this one to Rhinox Hide, and I think I might definitely be picking up some of that, because I do have a tendency on certain models for certain things to literally start the painting by getting my big old brush and just covering the whole lot in Rhinox Hide. So obviously if I can spray that straight on, that'll save me a ton of time. I mean, for instance, just this guy, he started off as Rhinox Hide, and he's like just one of many things on my desk. So yeah, after some bad experiences I've had with specifically hobby-made spray paints, and having used and been absolutely in love with the Halford's primer for the last quite a few years, I think I am a convert to Colourforge.